Every emerging tech ecosystem faces challenges in identifying the right startups and finding an efficient way for potential mentors to meet with promising new companies and founder. Kola Aino, founder, Venture Platform, joins us on the show to discuss ways to build a tech ecosystem.
So tell me, can there ever be a tech ecosystem in Abuja?
It's a complicated question, but I would say yes, there is a tech ecosystem in Abuja. The question is at what stage of maturity is that tech ecosystem? I mean, in Abuja, you've got the likes of Inspire Hub of the ATV that have been doing great work for a number of years. You've got organizations like Techpreneurs. You've got a couple of spots, but I think the problem is the critical mass, you know, and the level of support and infrastructure that the ecosystem has. But I think what you're starting to see is that ecosystem would really start to gain momentum. I mean, with the likes of CC Hub coming in recently, and you know, with what we're trying to do at Ventures platforms, I believe the ecosystem would start to form a lot more than it has in the past.
Yeah, because if you ask me, from what I see, Abuja doesn't seem like an ideal tech ecosystem. So let me start, for example, rent. Where would the startup start from? You know, what needs to happen for certain things to be in place?
Great. So Lagos wasn't always the most ideal startup ecosystem itself. Yes, it had a few advantages in its favor, like a preponderance of high institutions, a preponderance of big companies like internet bandwidth providers and the like. But you have to be deliberate about building any ecosystem. There has to be some thought around it. And if you just take an example of what happened in New York City, for instance, New York was never known for tech, but Mayor Bloomberg at some point decided to be very deliberate about it. And that's what we really call on, not only government, but private individuals that can invest in the ecosystem. Now, to your question, there's some very specific interventions, for instance, like with co-working spaces. Now, why do co-working spaces work very well? If I'm a startup and I can rent month to month at a lower cost and all the facilities are provided, then that barrier has been removed for my startup. So I think if with the right minds, we can create that ecosystem and create that enabling environment in Abuja. And with a lot of the hubs coming up here, I don't see why we can't make it happen.
So what are techies like you trying to do in Abuja to ensure that sort of ecosystem that we have in Lagos today comes to play?
Well, first of all, I would start from the standpoint of what we're doing specifically, and then I'll expand to what I think a couple of other people are trying to do. So at Ventures Platform, we've ensured, for instance, that our campus has boarding facilities. Now, why is that important? You mentioned rent. Rent is not only high for office space, but also very high for residency, even worse. Now, what we can achieve with that is, so if you're a young guy from Benue State, for instance, and you have a brilliant idea for improving the yields of agricultural produce, if you get into our program, you don't have to rent a space to leave. We'll house you here. We have very excellent boarding facilities. Also, you know, providing all the back office things that the startups need, like branding, like legal, like HR, all that is part of our program. And essentially, what you do is remove all the barriers that these young entrepreneurs would ordinarily face. Now, on a broader scale, there's a lot of collaboration that we intend to do, you know, and so working with the Inspires, working with OIIE, working with CC Hub, and working with all the players, both from an organized standpoint and individuals, then you will start to see that ecosystem form and mature in a way that we've never seen before.
This year, the federal government plans to establish innovation hubs across the country, but 2 super hubs in Abuja and Lagos, then 6 regional technology hubs in the 6 geopolitical zones.
Okay, so do you think that Abuja would eventually become the sort of ecosystem, the hub for technology across the north? Because I know there's a growing community of developers in Kano, in Kaduna, you know. How is that going to happen?
Well, I mean, first of all, the government has its plans. Now, one of the, hold up for a minute, one of the priority projects that we've settled on is the need to support existing hubs and help promote the establishment of new hubs. On our part, we have taken the bull by the horn. Our hub just opened very recently. We're already taking applications. I mean, it's amazing to know that on the first day of the website going live, we got over 50 applications. So that tells you that there's pent-up demand. So whether you're a young guy that's developed an app to deliver food, for instance, in Kaduna State, well, it's just 1 hour, 30 minutes away. Come over, we'll house you for 4 months and build your startup and would get some investors to look at it.
I think that is laudable, but for me personally, I really don't think that government sees the importance of technology in helping to create more jobs.
Yeah.
I think more still needs to happen. But for example, your own hub,
Yeah.
how would a startup, say based in Bauchi, go about joining you? Would they have to pay a fee? How expensive or how cheap it is? Just give us an idea.
So your question is a two-part question. I'll take the first part. The first part, you've talked about not really seeing the commitment of government.
Yeah, because take for example the budget.
Yes.
The budget, the commitment committed to technology, communication.
It could be better. It could be better. But so we're in talks with government now to really start to evaluate the potential jobs that can be created by just digitizing government data. I mean, just imagine it, the court systems, the hospitals, and government doesn't have to pay us as a sector to do that. We would happily take the data, digitize it, create a bunch of APIs and monetize the data. I mean, look at what budget has done with just having the budget being digitized. And so there's a whole lot of potential of job creation that the ICT space can create, and those engagements are going on as we speak right now. So, and to the second part of your question, what happens, the process? Essentially, if you're a young guy in Kano that has a brilliant idea for instance, improving infant mortality rates using some kind of app, for instance, all you need to do is log onto our website at www.venturesplatform.com, fill a simple application. We've got a 3-stage application process. On the second stage, whether you win or lose, whether you get selected or not, you get to take some course, because we really want to empower people. At the end of the day, you sit before a panel, and we'll shortlist and we select. You come into the program, you don't have to pay anything. And when you get in the program, we provide seed funding, we provide mentorship, training. You go through a very intense program starting from the 4 phases of a startup: prepare, build, grow, and then scale. And this all ends in a demo day where we invite investors and potential customers. And so it's really about enabling startups, and the process is quite easy.
So talking about investors, would the money that will be invested in these startups come from the local funds in Abuja or international?
Well, the next step for us is we are creating a fund that is specifically going to be geared towards sort of investing in startups. But again, our demo days, so we serve as a bridge. Essentially, we're not, I mean, we can't fund all the startups, but what we create is an environment for startups to connect to investors. And not just bring in any startups that have passed through a process and have a sustainable, financially sound product to present to investors.
Can any investor just come around and invest in the startups, or they have to go through a process?
Well, I mean, not any investor. You also want to make sure that the investors have been checked and they go through a process. So our stakeholder mapping is quite clear. We've got investors, we've got mentors, we've got service providers. So all these people play a role in our little ecosystem.
I was discussing with a few startups some days ago, and they were saying to me that they would prefer foreign investment than local investment. So the money that will be invested in these startups, is it going to come from Abuja City, or is it going to be international funding?
So generally speaking, investments raised from Nigeria are typically very short term. And the truth of the matter is that the most disruptive ideas can scale, can ignite very quickly, but require some time to scale. And so, we're looking at a basket of sources of investment, both local and foreign. And there's a lot of interest already. I mean, we're already getting communication, some people that are interested in supporting our startups. We just had a chat with StanChat, their investment advisory team. Of course, they only want to meet our best startups. So I think there will be a variety of investment sources for the startups.
So, all right, Kola, thank you for being on TechPlus today.
Thanks, it's been my pleasure.
We wish you all the best as you try to make the tech ecosystem in Abuja work.
Thanks, CFA, my pleasure. Well done. I love your show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.